Welcome to the Big East Rewind. I'm Chuck Everson from Villanova University, and my co-host, as always, is the former Big East heartthrob. He's a handsome man, Sonny Spera from Syracuse University. How are you, Sonny?
I'm good, Chuck.
Listen, do you know what I'm excited about today's show? We have a great show. We have two guys that both of us know very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what day this is now? This is going to be, it's Jersey Day today on Big East Rewind. The Jersey guys are in town. We got Jersey City and we got Paterson, New Jersey representing today.
Jersey City in the house.
Yeah, so it's going to be awesome. So why don't you introduce your friend that's with us?
All right, that'd be my pleasure. All right, this is easy. See, this is one of my favorite friends and my favorite teammates and buddies on the team because his home girl is my now wife. So when we first met Raf and turned out he was from Snyder High School, Jersey City, we had a lot of fun with it. But he came in at a small forward, and everybody thought, well, that's a filled position, but Raf stepped right in and absolutely made a contribution day one. So it was a pleasure to play with him. He understands the game at a cerebral level, and I'm proud to call him a good friend. Rafael Addison, pride of Snyder.
Jersey City.
Wow. Thank you, Sonny.
And
Pleasure.
Joining Rafael with us today is a teammate of mine from Paterson, New Jersey, one of a couple of guys that played at Villanova from Paterson, New Jersey, the other being Rory Sparrow. And this guy was one of the best shooters in our program. Came out of Paterson with a reputation of being a sharpshooter, and started for us on our championship team in '85. In fact, this guy and I roomed together on the road for 3 years. We were road dogs together on the road. We had a lot of fun, and we still do to this day. We're very close. My good buddy, number 4, Dwight Wilbur. Thanks for coming in, Dwight.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
It's good to see you guys. So why don't you start it off? Let's get right into it.
Okay, well, let's go back to your high school days. Let's talk a little bit, Raf and Dwight, anytime you guys want to pop in here. But Raf, talk about when you started your high school career and all of a sudden you knew that, okay, it looks like I'm going to play college ball. And the Big East was at least in the consciousness, at least people knew about it, right? It wasn't any longer, well, this is a maybe, this was a real conference. Talk about how that impacted like your senior year in college and that whole process.
Well, you're talking about high school, right?
Yeah, high school.
Senior year in high school. Yeah. So yeah, well, it was a time when I watched Syracuse in the NIT finals at Madison Square
That's
Garden.
right. Yeah.
No cable TV. Channel 9, WR9, and I fell in love with the school. And I didn't really know I was going to be a prospect for Syracuse, but I had a really good summer and a real good senior year. And we actually played, had a big game my senior year against Ben Franklin, which was Walters Berries and Kenny Hutchison. Really good team out of New York City. See, a lot of people thought when you come to Jersey, we were soft. But they didn't know that they had players in Paterson and Jersey City, in Newark and places like that. People from New York always thought we were soft until they came over there and experienced, some of the good basketball over in Jersey.
Now, you guys were both top 50 recruits in your recruiting class. I saw that. But the one thing that I saw, and as I read a little something, said that your high school coach said that you really weren't a prolific scorer because you were more of a team, like I'll do this, I'll do what you had to win. So it wasn't like you were lighting up all these stats number wise. Is that right? Or
yeah, pretty much. I was a team player. I did what I had to do. I could score, but it was times we beat teams so bad I only played the first half.
Right.
But I was an all around player. I hit it at every level. I was good pass, good handle, and also I could shoot it.
And you can shoot it at 6'7", right? Yeah.
Right.
Huge. Yeah.
What impressed me about your game in high school and then when you got to Syracuse was your length and your quickness, especially on the defensive side of the floor. You got some wingspan. You got really long arms, and it was very tough getting past you guys, when we played against you guys, because you had that length that the NBA guys look at. They talk about wingspan all the time. It was tough because you had a lot of that, and you were up at the top of this, when they played, and it made everything difficult for everybody coming through. So
yeah, that was I remember going to the Big East All Stars overseas with actually Dwight, Wilbur, and me was on the same team. And I remember Gary Williams talking about that, like my ability to play defense and wanting to play defense. So defense was, we was a defensive-minded team in school. We learned the fundamentals, and I was really into defense. And I do have a 7-foot wingspan.
So how about you, D? Tell us a little bit about your recruitment. I mean, your high school career, and how you came to be a Villanova student athlete.
I went to a school, Don Bosco Tech, not to confuse it with the prep, because everybody kind of confuses the two. I went more to the technical part of business, obviously, in school. I got to be honest. At one point, I wanted to go to college, but I didn't think I was going to get there. My father kind of was pushing me with Don Bosco Tech to get a job, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
So I had some type of technical background. And it wasn't until I went to 5-star basketball camp and I played well and started getting these letters in, and then I kind of changed my mind and said, Dad, look, I want to go to college now. I don't want to work. I want to go see what I could do. And hopefully, after watching back in the day, remember the old UCLA basketball teams, Larry Brown and company, and Louisville back in the day, those teams on TV, and you see them going, I want that too, And so that's what kind of pushed me to work hard and try to step up my game and get to where I can hopefully get a scholarship anywhere. And I was lucky enough to get one at Villanova. And I think the one thing that helped me the most, Raph didn't talk about this, but he's humble. We had, me and him played on the same AAU team together. I got to be honest, our AAU team was so good. First of all, we was tall. We was just huge. The biggest guys I've ever seen in my life, including Raph. And Raph didn't even play small forward. He's more than 2 guard. He was almost like what Kevin Durant would be today, back then, when he on our AAU team.
Yeah.
And we just beat up on everybody. I think I was sharing, except for one team. Raph will remember this as soon as I say it. He's going to go, yep, I remember it. I was telling Chuck, sharing a story with Chuck about how good our AAU team was when we went down to Falls Church, Virginia, and we whipped up on Tommy Amaker and Johnny Dawkins, right? At the spot. I mean, we whipped up on them. But then our next trip was to Florida, and we ran across Horace Broadnax. It was Horace. I want to say it was Roy Rogers on that team, I believe. I think there was a lot of Alabama players on that team.
Very good team. I remember this. Very good team we ran. But we had a really good team, but that team we ran in the bunk store right there. I remember that. Wow, Dwight, good memories.
Man, that was the worst. That's probably one of the worst experiences I ever, playing basketball. I mean, they just from the gate, and you look back, that was a combination of Georgetown and Alabama on that team. For some reason, I can't explain it, but that's how they had it. And like I said, our team was good. We had some studs, but I have to say I was blessed to watch Raph play. And Chuck, you were right. His wingspan is ridiculous because, like, even when he played with us, he didn't in the AAU time, he didn't play no small forward. He was the 2 guard. He brought it up and did everything. And I look back and go, shoot, I'm just gonna sit here and collect assists all day long because I don't got to shoot. I got a Raph who's going to give you 40 before you even turn around and blink an eye. He's at 20 by halftime, 22, 20 at halftime. And Raph's not even sweating. The rest of us is out here pouring sweat. Raph is just sitting there chilling and just
he made it look easy. I know that. He made it look easy. That's for sure.
Oh, he sure did. And funny story, he doesn't even know I'm about to tell this. My high school coach was he was a competitor. All right. And he wanted to scrimmage Snyder. And I said, are you crazy? I'm not going to scream. Why would we walk into Snyder High School or them come to us? And you're going to invite whoever scouts want to come in? Forget it. Don't do that, coach. I promise you. Please don't do that. It's going to be the worst experience ever. He's like, why? Rafael Addison. I promise you, coach. I played with him. I played with this guy. I watched him. I know everything he can do, and it doesn't matter. He is
Wow.
Nobody could guard him, number one. And I said, we're going to embarrass ourselves. He might drop 60 on us in a matter of a third quarter. It's over. It's so over. But
wow.
yeah, that's how I sort of got into doing what I got to do. And I envisioned myself at one point going to Syracuse. You know, I saw Red Brewing and Company. I was like, oh, okay, got some high flyers here. I kind of like this. And then I ran into a really, really good friend of mine. Okay. And we didn't know each other. He didn't know that he was going to be my friend, my best friend at one point, and that we were going to win a national championship together. I was coming off the elevator, and then I had to get back on. As I waited to get back on, his family comes out the elevator. Okay, and I'm going, who in the world is this? You know, I mean, you sit back and I mean, I love them to death. Chuck's family, wow,
Yeah.
Chuck comes out, Dad comes out. Mom, like, good Lord, I would love to have this height, Chuck. Can you give me some of this?
Coach Boeheim said we broke the budget for lunch on one meal. The Eversons came to town, and that was it, man. So listen, sticking with the AAU stuff for a second. Did you did you have any other D1 players on your team? Who were some of the guys you rolled with?
Right. I think we had
absolutely. We had Billy Thompson, Louisville.
Yes.
Well, Billy was the number one player in the country, right? At that time.
Him and Wayne Tisdale.
Oh,
Wayman.
Him and Wayne Tisdale were the top two players. But Billy was on the team with Troy Webster, George Washington.
Yes.
And we had Don Franco, what's that? Virginia Commonwealth.
That's right.
We had Tim
Harvey.
I didn't realize Raymond was a Jersey guy.
No, he wasn't. But that's who Billy from the country was number one player with. He wasn't a Jersey guy.
But Billy was on your squad when you guys played.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, Billy was good.
Tim what's the guy at Notre Dame? Dwight.
Kempton?
Tim Dolan.
No, Jim Dolan.
Oh no, Jim Dolan. Right. That's right, Jim Dolan.
Jim Dolan. Yes. Notre Dame. Yeah, we had a good team.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty solid squad, don't you think?
Yeah, that's pretty good. So back then, I mean, I didn't play much AAU. We didn't, I don't know. It's not prevalent like it is today in recruiting and stuff. So we used to have to go to camps and play in front of, like, there'd be hundreds of coaches at some of these camps. Eastern Invitational was one in Jersey. That was a real good one. And and Coach Mass had a camp called East Coast Basketball Camp.
Mm-hmm.
And both you guys played there, along with some other former teammates. Andre Hawkins was there, and there was a bunch of guys. Talk about that for a minute, Raph, and about the experiences that you had playing with Coach Mass's camp.
Yeah, well, me, Troy Webster, Mike Brown, we would go over the East Coast. That's where I met you at. Andre Hawkins was there, the Long Island guy.
Right.
And Troy would always tell me, Coach Mass had the inside track to get all these players.
Right.
He said, right, let us be all playing together. But Mass was looking at us, but he didn't want us. He didn't want us. So and he was a good guy. Coach Mass had a great relationship. And I got back in touch with him later on when he was coaching UNLV. I was playing in Europe, and he was after some young Italian kids that was American, and he needed me to help him recruit them. So he got in touch with me, and I told Coach, "You really didn't want me at Villanova." He said, "Raph, I think I made a mistake." So that was good to hear that.
He did make a mistake.
That was good to hear that.
You're right. You did make a mistake.
Number 2 scorer of Syracuse history. Yeah, I'd say
he would have been a great
you
fit, man. Oh my God.
Raph,
say that again, Dwight.
I told you to come on, and you was like, "No." I'm like, "Why?"
He didn't
So-
want me. Dwight, he did not want me. He wanted. I'm gonna tell you the deal with that with Coach Matt. He liked me, but he didn't want me because y'all gotta remember, it's a guy y'all had that was rated like the #1 small forward in the country from Connecticut. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah, he was pretty good too, Raf. You know.
Harold Presley was rated the #1 small forward in the country. So if you're gonna get him, you don't want Rafael Addison. All right?
So let me ask you guys both a question as we're talking about. Talk about the recruiting process. I know obviously you both visited Syracuse. Dwight, I'm fortunate I didn't have you on your visit because you wouldn't have come anyway. And that's what happened with Chuck. When they came, when I had them, they never came to Syracuse. So what were some of the schools that you guys both looked at? Dwight, talk about some of the schools you were looking at.
Well, besides Syracuse, I had St. John's. Duke had tried to recruit me. I went down for a visit at Duke. That was Coach K's first year in the coaching at Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And where else I go? And there was Providence and Seton Hall. It was all Big East. It was
Big
like,
East, yeah.
I mean, I had some schools outside of there, but I didn't want to go far. I was trying to stay close for my dad. That's just me, and that was my thing with him. You know, I couldn't see him riding all the way down to Carolina, you know, and trying to get back. And so I was like, you know, I was happy to sign with somebody, or somebody from the Big East wanted me that was a little closer. So yeah, that was part of my recruiting process. St. John's, Chuck, I think we visited St. John's together too at one point. Didn't we? Or no?
No, I visited Rutgers, Nova, and Syracuse. That was I only took 3. They gave you 6 back then. I only took 3.
Right. Yeah. My visit at St. John's, I liked it. I think, you know, I got thrown off, you know, young kid from the suburbs. You know, I got thrown off from living in an apartment and sharing it with my roommate and splitting the, you know, doing whatever we had to do. I was looking more for college atmosphere, dorms, things like that. And then I got, then Coach Mass came calling. Me and Harold had talked, and I think he kind of wanted me, but I was like, I said, Harold, I don't know. And then I just said, come on, I'm going to Villanova. And that's how I ended up signing with Villanova.
So let me ask you, because you talked about Big East was the primary recruiting circle.
Mm-hmm.
Was that at that time, was that a factor? Were you saying, listen, I want to go to a Big East school, or just was a geographic thing?
Nah, I wanted to go to a Big East school.
Yeah.
I think the only school that was really, it was terrible. And not to bash them because they're really good now, or pretty good. Rutgers did not want none of us. That's how I felt. We had really stud players coming up when I played, and none of us got recruited by Rutgers.
Isn't that interesting?
That's crazy, because that was some group of guys coming out our year from Jersey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Seton Hall benefited, really, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
What about you, Raf?
Well, actually, I was friends with Roy Henson, so I went down there unofficially just to look at Rutgers. But I was like NC State visit down there. I was down there with Valvano, and the guy took me out with Dinky Proctor, another Jersey guy, and Lorenzo Charles, God bless him. And I went out to Virginia Tech, and I went up to Connecticut, hung out with Coney Thompson, and I was looking at Providence, and I went to the schools that were near Jersey City. I didn't want to take my official to those schools because I can go there anyway. So I actually went to a Villanova. Louis came over. I went to St. John's and went to a Villanova St. John's at Alumni Hall, and went out like that. So that's pretty much, you know, I looked at Providence. Outside of and Georgia Tech came in, and Notre Dame came in. So after that, that was pretty much the schools I was really looking at.
Uh-huh.
So, son, talk about you know, what it's like when Coach Boeheim says to you, "Okay, we got a recruit coming in." You know how that process goes for people that are listening. I know we would get a guy like, let's say they would assign a guy like Rafael to me or to one of our guys, and then we'd be responsible for that recruit for the weekend. So talk about that process, and then D, add what your experience was when you went on some of your trips, especially the Syracuse one.
So I'll mention what I experienced, and then Raph was a much better recruiter for Syracuse than I was. He had much better success than I did. Okay. I didn't get you. I didn't get Harold Jensen. And I didn't get Jay Billis. So I struck out. I was done with recruits. So what we had was coach would give you some cash, right? You'd get X amount of dollars, and you had to take them out for food and then some entertainment. If they came up on a school day, like a Friday or something, they might join you for class, but that wasn't very common. Usually it was Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday lunch, and then Saturday night, Raph, wasn't that the big Scotch and sirloin dinner at Syracuse?
Sirloin.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I mean, I took the recruits out just for that.
Just for the Scotch and sirloin dinner?
Yes.
Well, that was our process right there. And we got a car. We got to rent a car to take around. Remember that? Raph?
Yeah, but I also remember the brunch on Sunday morning at the Marriott, the Marriott Circle. That was good too.
It used to be held at an alumni's house. I remember that because I remember that's how I met a couple people outside of the school. It was at like a booster's house, and they had a big brunch. But yeah, that was also a feast. That's right. Forgot that one.
So you guys needed to have a car. That campus is gigantic over there at Syracuse. That's a massive campus. We didn't have that. But
it's spread out.
Yeah,
it's very spread out. Yeah.
The one thing that Coach Mass did, which was he scheduled practice late on Sunday for us. We'd have like a 6 o'clock. If we had recruits in, we'd had a 6 o'clock evening practice on Sunday because he knew we weren't going out for milk and cookies, So, he would come in and it would be, I'm going to use you, Sonny, as an example. But let's say you came in on a visit. You had your chance. We went through everything. You were assigned to, whoever, John Pannone or whatever. And we went through. And then we would be at practice. And prior to us starting practice, we'd all be sitting on the bench. And he goes, well, what's the word on Sonny Spera? And it would be either thumbs up or thumbs down. It was like the old Romans thing. And if the guy got a couple of thumbs down, that was it. They stopped.
Gladiator.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So
that's funny. Ref, do you remember? We didn't do that, did we? I don't remember that ever being a part of our process.
No. I took out a lot of recruits, and I don't recall that.
Yeah. And fortunately, I didn't have to also because I had a lot of schoolwork I was doing most of the time too. So, it wasn't always I was a bad recruiter, but I didn't really land a lot of big fish. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Is Dwight still with us?
I think we lost D.
Okay. He'll be back in a second.
Yeah,
Raph, talk a little bit. Talk a little bit about once you decided to go to Syracuse, right? The geographic area. I mean, it's a little more north. It's a little colder. How was your transition?
Well, it was a perfect fit for me. Like Seton Hall was just too close. St. John's was just too close. Syracuse was far enough away, but close enough.
Right.
So I could still be in touch with the parents, and then all of the metropolitan people go there. You could tell just by how they talk. Like when I go down to North Carolina, it was different. When I went to Virginia Tech, it was different. And I got up there and I started meeting people, whether you went to a party or wherever you went, the metropolitan people kind of sound the same, in their language, their body language, and a lot of them listen to the same radio stations. So that I was comfortable with that.
Uh-huh. And you're right about geographically. It's close enough you can get to it, but it's far enough away where you have your own life.
Yes, absolutely.
Were the winters shocking to you at all?
No. It wasn't at all because I grew up in Jersey City and we always had 4 seasons. Now it was a bit more, but I learned that they was used to the snow. I mean, I saw people driving down the highway doing 60 on the snowstorm, only in Syracuse.
Yeah.
You know, only in Syracuse. So they was used to the snow. You know, you learn how to drive up there, you can drive anywhere.
Let me tell you, when I was walking to class with Andre and he saw a black squirrel, and I think it was the first time he ever saw a black squirrel, and I remember him, that was a huge thing. Man, they got black squirrels in Syracuse.
Yeah. That weather deterred a lot of people, I think, right? I mean, that had to be something that you had to know that going in if you were being recruited up at Syracuse, that it could get crazy up there in the wintertime.
You just get used to it, right? It just becomes part of it, right, Raph? Once you get a good winter coat and some boots, you're good.
It's fun. You know, the hardest part is like when you get up, you gotta get up for those early classes when it's really cold out there. When the wind blows, that's the hardest part. But you just get used to it, and so that means everything inside is warm. So we're having fun. You know, the dome heated up. The party's heating up. The campus life heated up. So it was fun. It was fun. It was fun to go through it, and it's not for everybody, but you'll be surprised.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk. Let's talk now. So you're at Syracuse. How was? Because in your freshman year, what were you thinking? What was your expectations? Was there anything? It was just, I'm going to work hard, see where it lands. What was your thoughts? Because you were an impact player right away.
Well, and great questions, Sonny. Now I was looking at St. John's, and they had this guy everybody knows, Chris Mullen, at the 2. So I always thought I was a 2-3. And that's how I played in high school and stuff like that. So they had Chris Mullen at the 2, but they had this other guy who was a senior, David Russell. So I felt I could go in there, and then after 1 year, I could have that small forward spot. But in Syracuse, they had a guy, Eric Sandifer, who's very, very good. I took a little bit from Eric. I took a little bit from Tony Red. I took a little bit from Leo. So I was looking at all 3 of those guys. Like, I love the way Tony attacks the basket. I love the way Eric goes baseline and silky smooth. And then the other thing with Eric, his speed. People don't know that. Like, he ran under 5-minute mile, stuff like that. Leo, ability to see the floor. So I wanted to take a little bit from all 3 of those guys. And I felt like me going to Syracuse, I got 3 opportunities to play the next year after learning a lot from those 3 guys.
That's a good point, man. And now the more you talk about it, playing with you, you are a perfect blend of all of them. You could shoot it like Leo from range. You could pass it like Leo. You could run for days, like when we did our preseason.
I ran. Exactly.
Nobody could keep up with you, and you never got tired. I'm not sure I saw you sweat either, but and then Red's game was, inside out. So that's a good point. I've known you all these years. I never put the 2 and 2 together, but man, it just makes perfect sense.
That was my thinking going in, and those guys, they helped me tremendously. Like, they helped me tremendously because they didn't know I was working every day watching them, little things, picking up stuff. Eric was great with moving without the ball, and I needed that because once Pearl came in, I had to learn how to move without the ball.
Talk about playing with Pearl. Now that you mentioned him, Raph, I mean, he's the kind of guy you have to run with your hands up because you never know when you're going to get the ball, right? You're filling the lane, and you better catch it if he throws it to you because you won't see it again, right?
Well, Rob Carmody got in trouble with me from saying Pearl really never passed the ball in high school because he scored. Spurs scored 50 points on all layups. So he got in trouble with me on that, and I reminded him that Pearl had 19 assists against St. John's at Alumni Hall. So he could really pass the ball. So what I used to do, I used to always find a way to get in his vision, to make him pass it to me. I used to always get in his vision. So, and I ran the floor real well. I backdoor real well. So all the things that Pearl likes, the pocket pass, stuff like that. So I got myself open a lot when Pearl penetrated and the doubles came, and all I needed was a second. So I learned how to really move without the ball.
What are some of your greatest memories on the court with Pearl?
So he really ran the show out there. I remember the one thing used to make me laugh a lot when we Boeheim threw the stool. We had the stools in the dome, and he was throwing it at a window, but it went right past my face. And Boeheim was upset. He was hot. So we come out the second half, and Boeheim switches to the one defense, which is our man. They don't do it as much now, but we went to man, and Pearl really went out. We went out, and we got out, and pressure. We was all over the place, and we got back in the game. And Pearl said, "Raph, you not tired?" I said, "No, let's keep going." He switched. Boeheim didn't switch to defense. Pearl switched to defense to the 2, back to the zone. He said he was tired. He said he switched. And I laughed about that because Boeheim never switched to defense. Pearl did it.
No, it's funny. It's funny, Raph, because as a competitor, when we come out to play you guys, we stayed at a hotel right there. And you walk around campus. We all got to visit Varsity Pizza and some of the places that are in town over there, and everywhere you went, there were T-shirts of Pearl Washington. They had one of him sitting on top of the dome, spinning the ball on his fingers. And I remember that distinctly. Like, all the shops there had Pearl gear all over the place. I was like, I knew him because we played in high school, like at the Newsday Classic and things like that. But man, I didn't realize what we were in for when we stepped in the doors at the dome. Actually, when we got blown in, right? Because when you open the door at the dome, it's like they push you right. It sucks you right into the place, But that was a challenge playing against that guy, and especially the hype that he had on campus. How was that? Like when you guys were out, out on the town and stuff, did he get bombarded by people?
Actually, he stayed in a lot. And they had the greatest shirt I thought they had on him on the 8th day God created the Pearl.
Right.
That was a great shirt. He actually stayed in a lot. And then when we did go out, he would go to places kind of low key. But he loved the people. He loved Syracuse. He was at home with it, and he loved that attention. But he was really quiet off the court.
Yeah. Well, how about for both of you guys? I mean, there's no pro sports up there. In Philly, we had the Eagles, the Phillies, the Sixers. There was all kind, and then there was a lot of colleges by us, all the Big 5 schools. How was it for you guys going to class and walking around campus? Did you get a lot of attention from people?
It depends on the game day. Maybe we up for a big game. Everybody knew who you were, and we went to class quite often, so people was used to seeing us. It wasn't really no big deal. Like right. We were very friendly, and I can say that about mostly all of my teammates. We were very friendly. We was cordial. We spoke to people. We didn't feel like we was any different. We was just part of Syracuse University.
Yep, and that's what it was like at Nova too. Like we were very visible. We had a lot of friends, in the dorms and stuff. In fact, there was people that used to wait for us. Mass would let us out to go to dinner like 15 minutes before the cafeteria closed. So we had a hustle. If a friend of ours from the dorm wanted to eat dinner with us, we had to tell him, hey, meet me at the pit, at this time and save me a spot because, you were on a hustle, but we were visible too. I just wanted to find out what the differences were being in a city that didn't have a lot of pro sports as opposed to a place like Philadelphia.
The big difference, Chuck, was when you went off campus, right? Absolutely. When you went into the town, the cities, some of the small businesses, yeah. that was celebrity status. You had, and like Raph said, they all knew you, and you were a student, right? You were a student athlete, right. Just like the football players, lacrosse players, and swimmers, and wrestlers, and all the other athletes, and all the other students. And Syracuse's university is the campus is so spread out. So like if Raph was in one school, I might not see him ever on the campus if he's not on the quad, like if he's not arts and sciences.
Absolutely. Yep.
But we go downtown and we stop somewhere, people, they would be whispering, right. That's Rafael Addison, and nobody had it worse than Pearl. Everybody knew Pearl. Police officers, they'd stop, they'd want him to sign. He was a rock star.
Well, let me ask both of you guys this until we can get my my illustrious teammate back online with us. So it was awfully funny, and Sonny, you and I have talked about this, over the years, but man, we had a devil of a time going. We never won in my 4 years up at the Dome. I thought that was the hardest place to play, But just like we didn't win at the Dome, you guys didn't win because we played you guys most of the time at the Palestra, right, in Philly.
Yes.
So I mean, I think we split. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think we split the games with you guys. The Dome was so tough because you're looking for an orange rim and a sea of orange shirts. And you get to the foul line and you look and you go, I know it's there somewhere, but I can't see it. I'm going to shoot for the box in the middle and hopefully I'll hit the rim. Talk about coming into Philadelphia and playing us in Philly at the Palestra, Raph.
Well, that was a real good home floor for you guys.
It was.
Tight, loud, and some reason it seems like you guys got up more when y'all played in that place. So and it was fun. It was a lot of fun playing down there. I remember the games, man. It was close, tight game, but we usually lost down there. I don't even remember beating Villanova down here at the Verizon Center or something like that when Kenny Wilson was a freshman.
Yeah, it's our senior year. Yep.
I remember beating them then.
That was at the Spectrum, I think. Right, exactly.
Spectrum. There you go. Spectrum. I remember that beating them down there then, but we didn't beat them at the Palestra. No, that was a great home floor. The crowd, all the toilet paper coming down.
Yeah.
Hey, Dwight.
Basket. Right.
Dwight, talk about playing against Pearl. What was the practice prep and that kind of stuff.
I don't want to talk about Pearl.
We got one honest person.
I did not. When I got on the floor, and I love this guy. I love him to death. Gary McLean was determined to prove something to Pearl, and I'm going in my mind. I'm talking to myself, going, "Giz, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Don't get up on him. He wants you to do that. Why don't you give him some room? Let him shoot a jump shot, dude. That'll be the best thing that can happen." And so when I've had to play Pearl, I obviously, I'm not gonna lie, I can be honest. I was afraid of him. I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to get embarrassed. That's what exactly was in my mind. We're in the Big East tournament, Channel 9. Never forget it. I got over 100 phone calls this one night because they inbound me the ball. I'm bringing it up. I try to make a move on Pearl, and I crossed him from right to left. And when I went to dribble with my left hand, it was gone. And the place went nuts. And my friends just called me going, D, you look stupid. he just played on national television. I said, well, that's why he's Pearl Washington. But I mean, Pearl, watching him and trying to study him, that saying, if I knew then what I know now, it might be a little different. I mean, he still shaped me, but, fat and old, but I'm saying if I was a little thinner and everything else, I might be able to stay with him, but I probably would play him a little different. But I always played Pearl to take a jump shot on me. And he relaxed for some reason. And I said, that's where I wanted him. So I felt like I was winning that battle between me and him. I didn't challenge him. I gave him so much room to do what he needed to do. He was like, okay, Dwight's not doing anything, so let me pass the ball, let me run an offense and go through and so on and so forth. And by the time the ball came around the second time, we were in zone. Yeah. So that helped me out tremendously. So I was happy to
the story that gets passed around, you can tell these guys, the story that gets passed around when we're all together and we start talking about a guy like Pearl Washington is, we're taking our lumps at the Dome the way we usually did. Right. Pearl's on a roll. I think he had like 36 one game against us. It was ridiculous. And somebody's on the foul line and he walks over and puts his arm around Coach Massimino and says, hey, it's okay, Coach. You get mad at him. He's trying. He just can't guard me. He's doing his best. But we're like, are you kidding me? So Massimino pushed him and says, get out of here, Pearl. He said, so this is during the game, he's telling us. So that same game, D, tell me if I'm wrong. We had a guy named Veltra Dawson on our team. And yes, Velt was a freshman in 85. Mm-hmm. So he come in, he's talking trash on the bench. Pearl ain't all that. Pearl can't do this. So all of a sudden, we're getting lumped up pretty good. So Coach goes, Velt, get in there. You got Pearl. Okay. So I don't know you know, it was like Pearl hurt him, you know, because the guy came back with 2 broken ankles. He was all twisted and turned around, and we ribbed him, and you know, the rest of the year for that. Remember that, D?
I do remember that because you know why? Velcher did that because he was from Chicago, and he felt like, you know, I'm a Chicago boy, so I could take Pearl when I
To represent. Yeah.
And
Right.
he didn't realize who Pearl really was.
I think I remember that. That guy, did he wear glasses?
He wore the goggles, right?
Yeah,
That's
he wore
him.
the goggles.
Oh, yes, I remember that. And Pearl was like embarrassing him a little bit, like shaking him up.
Not a little bit.
I remember that.
And do you remember we played? I don't know if it was. I know it happened the one time. I don't know if it happened during the game that you just talked about when Velt came in, but do you remember at halftime when we went into halftime and Coach was so mad?
I was just telling Sonny this.
Guy
Yeah, go
was
ahead.
about to have a heart attack. I swear to God, that's what I thought was going to happen.
He stopped coaching.
Huh? Yeah,
he was throwing stuff. He was throwing erases at guys that weren't even in the game. He was, you know, it was crazy.
He had to calm himself down because Coach went from his usual like yelling and screaming to, you know, I gotta come back. You know, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's gonna die in front of us. You know, and I'm like, wow.
Paddles clear.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's exactly how it was. And Sonny, I was telling you before we came on today. You know, and then you guys and Dwight can attest to it. Listen, Dwight and I were not shy when it comes to, you know, eating lunch, dinner, or whatever. We were
absolutely not.
We were the first guys at the buffet table, you know. That said, you guys, like after a game in the Big East, the home team always had something for the opposing team after the game so they could take a lunch or something back on the bus with them, either to their hotel or to the airport or whatever. And Syracuse had the greatest spread of any team in the Big East, you know. So, you know, you'd go grab some stuff, but if your parents happen to come to the game, you'd go see your parents and then you grab some food or whatever. And we go in there, and this was the game that, you know, Dwight was referring to. A coach really had a tough time at halftime. And for some unknown reason, you know, I go, hey, coach, can you see the mayonnaise anywhere? Can you pass me the mayonnaise? I said, he goes, what am I, the damn mayonnaise man, Everson? What's wrong with you? He ripped me. We still heard about it when we were visiting him in Florida years and years later, you know.
Ref, you remember that room?
That's called time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, hospitality room.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, they really good up there with the hospitality.
So I want to ask both of you guys now, in your travels in the Big East, what two things I want to know. What was the toughest place that you played? And what were some of the toughest opponents that you faced? Dwight, why don't you hit that one first?
And you can put me and Sonny to the side on that one. We already know we were tough. So
yeah.
Wow, the toughest place that we played. Now I think every place we played at was tough. To be honest with you, you know, I was going to say Providence always gave us a game for some reason. You know, you walked into Landover, that was a problem. Syracuse was a problem.
You made a big shot. You made a big shot in Landover.
That I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. At the buzzer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Walsh. Did you guys play in Walsh at Seton Hall?
No, we always played at the Meadowlands.
At the Meadowlands. St. John's. I mean, we didn't even play. We played at Madison Square Garden. Played them all the time at the Garden.
Mm-hmm.
So was that like the toughest place? Not, you know.
We got him Alumni Hall freshman year. We played them. Remember, Winnington
yes.
had 1-1, and he missed the second one of the 1-1, and we won by 1 point.
That's right. I do remember that.
When Dave Russell was on their team.
I do remember that.
How about you,
Sonny? I really can't say, to be honest. Wow.
That's good.
Just thinking back, Pitt was even hard. You know,
Pitt was tough. BC was tough.
Yeah.
BC was even worse.
BC was tough. Yeah.
BC
right on you.
Got to Harold bad when we went and played there.
Right on you. Yeah, BC was right on you.
So it's hard to say. I mean, we struggled in games that, you know, technically we probably should have had a little bit of a cushion lead where we just couldn't break loose. every time we would get a 4-point, 5-point, here they come marching right back. I don't know. When you look at the Big East when we were playing, the talent that was there was ridiculous. I'm not knocking today's Big East. I don't think today's Big East knows what Big East is. They have no idea. It's nice that, they're trying to get it back, but Big East back when we played, oh my God, it was like the Eastern Conference Finals or semifinals, and it was just every night was a
Every
war.
night, yeah.
It was a war. So nobody had a day off, unless like second half, maybe 6 minutes and we're up 10. That might be, and that's rare, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even, Chuck probably remembers more than I can of how many blowouts we had in the Big East where we just blew teams out.
Yeah, not many.
How about you, Raph?
For you, Raph, who was tough?
Well, hands down, playing in Landover. For during my career, playing in Landover, for some reason they got up for that ride. I remember going in for a dunk and Patrick coming in on an angle. He clearly knocked me, just slammed me. No foul call. So Landover was definitely number one. And it was Pitt. If you had to come ready to play at Pitt. You had to come ready. They was ready for you. You had to come ready, at Villanova. You had to come ready, UConn, Boston College. But Landover was definite the number one spot.
You think it was who you were playing or the actual place? It was who you were playing in Landover, right? That made it.
Absolutely. Georgetown.
So talk about that. Now that you mentioned that, Raph, talk about the rivalry between the Orange Men and the Hoyas and what that was like. Because we're, coming down the road, we're going to have guys from both programs on. We're going to talk more about this as we go through this. But I'd like to hear your what you felt and what you thought about that rivalry and when you were going to play Patrick and the guys.
Well, five-star basketball camp introduced me to Reggie Williams, David Wingate. We were good friends. Me and David Wingate played in the Capital Class together, played on USA Team, Sports Festival. So we all good friends. But once you go across those lines, it was physical. And I think it kind of started when you watching that championship game against North Carolina and Patrick Ewing just blocking goaltending shots on purpose. So they got that Detroit Pistons, Oakland Raiders mentality.
Yeah.
And they scared the whole country. They wasn't just beating up the Big East. We knew how to play them a little better than the whole country, but they were beating up the whole country with that kind of like Detroit bad boys, Oakland Raiders, we gonna hit you, elbow you, bump you, what you call bumps. And so that started it with us because now they're calling us soft indirectly.
Right.
So and then you know the history with the Manly Fieldhouse. The Manly Fieldhouse is closed when they beat Syracuse up there. So that started that rivalry when it gets like the fans get into it and it was some big games. So I know I always got up and played them. It wasn't always good, but it was good. But I think both teams truly, just like most guys in the Big East, both teams really truly respect each other.
Yeah. That's true. And listen, nobody played harder than those guys. I'll say that too. I mean, and listen, it got chippy at times and stuff. I mean, the joke in the league was as soon as the referee threw the ball up, the Georgetown guys each fouled the guy that they were standing next to, and the ref could only call one foul. So it was on. You had to have
it was on
up tight, man. When you went to Landover and played against the Hoyas, you had to be ready to roll, right?
Yeah. Capital Center, not a fun place to play.
No.
So Dwight, who do you think in your opponents, right? Your competition, who did you think was the biggest challenge?
St. John's.
Yeah. Was it
St.
a matchup? What was it?
I think matchup killed us a lot. Especially the Mullins, David Russell era at that time.
It was all the lefties, right, D?
And Willie Glass, and for some odd reason, when we came against them, I mean, you think about it, their offense was it wasn't terrible. It was so easy. They did the same thing, but God, dog, they would get buckets, we knew everything. Every time Mullen touched the ball, we knew exactly what was going to happen, and we just couldn't stop it. We just could not. That's how I felt as far as playing against a Big East team. We kind of knew what Syracuse was going to do. We kind of knew what Georgetown was going to do, even though we were outmanned. But I thought matchup wise, we were pretty good with St. John's, but they found a way. Mullen comes off that little curl screen for him.
Yeah.
Buckets. And at the time when Russell was there, and then you had Willie on the other side, Mark Jackson and Walter, Mark Jackson wasn't the Mark Jackson we know, but he did his job. And they just ran simple plays that we just had a hard time stopping.
I think we had a tough time with the lefties. You mentioned Russell, Walter, and Chris, all lefties. We had trouble with Hawk when we played Syracuse, another lefty.
Mm-hmm.
It was, the lefties gave us a tough time. And in 85, Sonny, we were rooting for Georgetown to beat St. John's because we didn't want any part of St. John's in the finals.
That's what it sounds like. Sounds like it's good.
It
matched up well.
Yeah. We beat Georgetown once a year. At least that was our thing. One time a year we got them.
True.
But for St. John's, it was really tough.
So since we're going down the 85 path, let's follow that for a second. So Dwight, what was it like now? Okay, so St. John's and Georgetown matches up on the other side. You guys beat your opponent. Now you guys are matched up in the biggest Rocky underdog story of the century, right? That's how it was sort of billed, right? But you guys obviously weren't buying that. So what was it like in your preparation for that game?
Like I said earlier, I thought we knew everything Georgetown was going to do. I think the one thing Coach Mass and maybe I'm wrong. Chuck, tell me if I'm right or wrong. The one thing Coach didn't say to us, but we just did it out of natural playing basketball, and going against certain patience. We were very patient that game.
Yeah,
we were, and I think that's what obviously helped us with the high shooting percentage that we shot, because we did not rush no shots. Georgetown didn't force us into rushing. We just slowed the game. That was our game anyway. We weren't no high flyers, and getting out and doing all the craziness.
I think Dwayne McClain was the high flyer.
He was the only one. He was the only one.
The D-Kelly was the high flyer.
He was the only one. But I think we were very patient, like a patient team. But Coach never stressed that. Besides just run your plays, run your offense, do this and do that. I think us as a team, and I don't know how much Chuck talked about this in a sense, we are very close knit. It's almost like I can tell you what Chuck's thinking, Chuck can tell me what I'm thinking. I've never been part of an organization playing basketball that kind of just was on the same wavelength, from top to bottom. We were it was a blessing or a gift that God gave us to go out and was able to just be in sync every minute of the game.
Ref, you remember that? Go ahead.
That
Go
game.
ahead, Ref.
I just want to ask Chuck a question about that game.
Yeah.
Did Reggie Williams really pop you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he did. Let me tell you, all I did. Listen, Raph. Truth be told, right? I tip a ball, Prez grabs it, puts it in. Now Wingate's coming down the floor, okay? And the last thing, we're up 1. The last thing I want to see is Reggie tipping a ball, and then I got to deal with Coach Mass in the locker room, who was out of his mind with that stuff, especially in that kind of game. So I put a hard, clean box out on Reggie, and he turned around and hit me and kept going. But that was par for the course when you played them, as – you've been in games where it got physical, it was just in the heat of the battle, heat of the moment kind of thing, but we used that. Coach Mass used that in the locker room. We were ready to come back out. And I've been around Reggie 2-3 times, and we laugh about it and joke around about it to this day, So yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Yes.
Now, when that Final Four was 3 Big East teams in the Final Four, that was my senior year. So I was done, right? But What were your feelings? Were you thinking, man, this is my league, or were you thinking, damn, we should have been there? What was your feelings looking?
I was happy. It was bittersweet. I was crushed.
I agree. Yeah.
Because we had to at least split with those guys and always play competitive in the overtime, and we could compete. Then we get Georgia Tech in Georgia, and the same same side
in Atlanta.
of Georgetown.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, right there. Yeah, we get Georgia Tech. So I was
never forget
it. Was bittersweet. I was very envious, borderline jealous, upset, but then I was happy because the whole country got to see our league.
Right.
So that was my feeling. The whole country saw our league, how competitive, how good we was, and we played those guys. A lot of people didn't play Villanova. A lot of people didn't play St. John's in Georgia. We played those guys, Syracuse. But so it was bittersweet, and I was really happy. Of course, Dwight being one of my good friends from high school, because we probably the only two guys that year out of 82 from high school that went Big East. And actually, me and Dwight was really, really good friends. I feel bad sometimes that we didn't keep in better touch. We were really good friends in high school. We talk on the phone all the time. Not like this social media stuff now. We talked on the phone. So I was happy
on the house phone
in Villanova. Yeah,
on the kitchen phone.
Yeah, with the cord stretched out. Right. That's great. And it almost was 4 teams. Boston College came real close to getting to the Final Four that year.
But you know what, Chuck? I never told you this, and Sonny, you can't go tell Coach Boeheim. After we won that, I had a long talk with Raph. He kind of thought about transferring over to us. He wanted to come. He did.
That's okay. Like, you just told him right now.
Wait, I said to him, Chuck doesn't know that. I said to him, Raph, you know what? I wasn't getting a lot of run anyway, so I'll sit back my minute so you can get down with it. So come on, man, come transfer over so we can win it.
That would be nice. But everybody, I think everybody in the country knows that Syracuse was my dream school. So
yeah, I know. I'm just busting.
Yeah, I know.
That was your place.
So if I had to go anywhere, I would want to go somewhere to play with you.
And you know what? Since AAU, not to go back, but since AAU, I wanted to play with you because I knew what you was going to do. I knew you, and I was like, "This is the guy I wanted to go play with."
The Dwight's being real nice. He's not telling about his handle and his deadly shooting because you was something else, man. You was a nice combination. Like I said, we had a nice team.
No, I can't help but think, right? Because I feel the same way too. If we had a 3-point line, I think Dwight and Raph, I think your numbers would have been much higher than it was.
Well, Raph for sure. I can tell you, Raph. This guy, like I said, not because we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you could have seen him back in the day. And Sonny, you saw him every day. For the 3 years that you had him. But
right.
Yeah, he was just this guy here. I couldn't stand him. I was sitting watching when we play against other teams, and he just be. I don't know how to explain it. He had this real, to me, this real like slow draw, and everybody was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this." No, he shot it too high for you to get to it. He was too quick to get it. He got it off too quickly for you to even touch him. And he just did things that you sit and go, "How do you get that off? Hold up, how do you get that off?"
Yeah.
To this day, I mean, he's dead and gone. Not to bring, but that was my father's favorite player right here. That's my father's favorite player.
I love your father. I love your father. And Sonny bring up the 3-point shot. When I played in Europe, they had that line. So it was games I had 7 threes in the game. Hit 7 threes in the game. So I always wondered, like, wow, what if this was in Syracuse?
Yeah.
What if it was in Syracuse? But but you play your era, and that was our era. And we did what we had to do. We had a great time doing it. No looking back. How can I face tomorrow if yesterday is all I see? We played our era. We did it well. We had fun, and now it's a new era.
All right.
The benefit of the 3-point line.
Well, let's wrap it up with that, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, right, Big East rewind and the era that we all basically grew up and loved, and look at the Hall of Famers we played with, for Pete's sake. So
Yeah.
I think we've all been blessed, and I thank Chuck for getting this whole thing started, and Dwight, D, and you, Raf. I mean, I love you, Raf. I could love you, but I love Raf first. All right. So thanks, man. I appreciate you guys.
I
for
love
coming
being
out.
on.
All right,
Love being
guys.
on.
Listen, the Big East Rewind was produced by Daryl Gurney and Nick Corvus, and you can catch us on YouTube. You look for the link on social media. If you enjoyed it, just subscribe and leave a comment. We're going to do a lot more of these. We got a lot of potential great guests coming up and down the road, including coaches and officials and former players, to talk more about the old school Big East. So thanks again, guys, for coming on. We appreciate you. Love you, D. Love you, Raf. And
Love you too, Sonny. Pleasure.
I
Thank
love
you.
you back.
Love you guys, man.
I love you guys.
Definitely.
Thank you. Thanks for
Peace.
having me.
Good seeing you, baby.
Take care.
Always.